your soul has grown weary and your heart feels tired,
let the water wash away your sins.
and if the snow begins to fall and you can't find a fire,
let the water wash away your sins.
if the nighttime lasts forever but the days are cruel and mean,
let the water wash away your sins.
and you thought one day you'd be happy if you held in all your screams,
let the water wash away your sins.
all right, let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Now that this old world is ending, a new one begins. Let the water wash away your sins. If you spent your whole life working for a world that feeds on doubt,
let the water wash away your sins.
and those banks keep getting bigger while your pockets empty out,
let the water wash away your sins.
and if all the thieves and liars have been knocking at your door,
let the water wash away your sins.
and they said they'd feed your family and you believed what they swore,
Let the water wash away your sins.
let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Now that this old world is ending, a new one begins. Let the water wash away your sins. If you thought there was a heaven, but you can't find the proof,
Let the water wash away your sins.
and you can see your brothers marching, but you can't speak your truth.
Let the water wash away your sins.
Oh, if your mother was a screamer and your father ruled with fists,
Let the water wash away your sins.
and if you're thinking about the highway and you're looking at your wrists,
Let the water wash away your sins.
let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Now that this old world is ending, a new one begins. Let the water wash away your sins. Come on, one more time. Let the water wash away your sins. Let the water wash away your sins. Now that this old world is ending, a new one can begin. Let the water wash away your sins.
All right. Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? Are we having fun yet? Hetman, are you there yet? Yoo-hoo. Did you abandon us? Anyway, we'll wait for Hetman to get back, and we'll get a little bit started here. Let me know if you can't hear. Let me know if we're too quiet. It has been a day. I All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. I have deafened everything. Now you can hear me. Good. I apologize. I screwed up there. It's my fault. Happy days. All right. It has been a day. But before we get started tonight, I talked with Hetman beforehand, and we talk an awful lot about conflicts, and while I don't necessarily always move the human cost of this to the forefront, I at least hopefully hope we keep it in mind. And unfortunately for Hetman and many of his friends, last week one of his friends serving in the Ukrainian military fell in combat. Which, if you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about him, Hetman.
So, one of my friends, his name was Serhiy Frolenko, from Priluki. Shout out to all my friends in Priluki, who I miss a great deal. Serhiy, I met through mutual friends in 2021 when I visited Priluki in October, and he was really, really just a positive person, very well liked. He was known as part of a very famous group called Urban Priluki, which was like a breakdance competitive group. And there have been actually documentaries made about that group. But when the war broke out, he actually enlisted and joined the Naval Infantry. His unit is one of the was outside of the Pokrovsk direction, and unfortunately, he was killed by an FPV drone. So it's been a really, really hard time for him. I mean, for all of our mutual friends, his family, and they had a big ceremony honoring him. That's one thing that it seems like a tradition that Ukraine is sort of adopted since the war has started. But when a soldier dies, they have a very elaborate procession for them, very similar to how we do it here, where there's like, like a what is called in Ukrainian ostatny shlak. So like your last like the soldiers, I'm having problems translating today. Last path, like, or final road, I would say is how you would translate it. When police in the United States or firemen die, we usually do the same thing for them. But his funeral had a lot of people. He was very well liked and very popular. And yeah, I had the opportunity only of meeting him one time. Kept in contact with him on Facebook. But yeah, very, very nice guy. He leaves behind a 9-year-old son and a wife who all cared about him dearly. And this is the first person that, despite having a lot of friends, I've been very, very lucky. I have about 6 friends in the Ukrainian military, and none of them, except for him, have died so far. So yeah.
Before we get started properly tonight, I wanted us to take a moment of silence. So I'm going to put that up, and I'll cue us back in. All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a hard week.
It's
In
been a
general,
difficult
last week was very hard.
And again, yeah, there is a very real human cost to all these things that we talk about. So I don't want us to lose sight of that, particularly when something like this happens. And with that, I suppose we should get on with the agenda for the evening because we don't have that much time. I woke up this morning and I learned that Jerusalem was on fire.
And hardly a coincidence given
Yeah, so if you're not
the
aware,
day.
today is the Independence Day for Israel.
What is it, the 75th?
70s. Hang on.
I think it's like
I can do math, I swear. 77th. That's 1948. Yeah, 77th. So the news thus far has been coming out most of the day. It's kind of like scattered and fragmented, but there are a series of wildfires that have set out. Like, okay, that's not correct, totally accurate. There is something on the line of 160 wildfires that they're combating throughout the Jerusalem Hills area. There's been evacuations, the closures of a major highway, and the fact that there has so many of these on such an auspicious day has been it's difficult to say that this is coincidental. It does not feel coincidental.
no, not at all.
A number of individuals have been arrested. So far as I heard when I checked an hour ago, approximately 13 people have been treated for smoke inhalation. No one has yet been killed. A large number of areas are being evacuated. But the Israelis are working to contain the fires, and they have requested international aid, which I suspect will arrive because fires suck. But this has
I want to remind people though that it's important to keep in mind that wildfires are quite common in Israel because of the climate. They're especially in that area specifically, also within the north too. There are quite a few each year, but this is obviously, it's very obviously these are,
yeah, it
you know,
totally it look, without being prejudicial, it's not impossible that this was a natural occurrence. We don't know yet the answer to this. We will not know the answer to this till well after the event has concluded. So, for example, if you happen to be a certain American layabout that has been traveling to Israel lately, and you accuse you accuse this of terrorism without qualification, you're probably wrong. Arab Israelis are already accusing the police of trying to set them up as Arab Israelis, specifically, or Palestinians in the settled areas. Like, because as I understood it, the first individual who was arrested was a Palestinian.
I saw a tweet by an individual, an activist, a Palestinian activist that I follow. One who's actually, I think he's actually Israeli Arab. But I guess some of the settlers were setting fire to a Palestinian village. So I'm not sure. I'm wondering if this is sort of a tit for tat thing going on.
Today, they were setting fire to a Palestinian village, or earlier in the week?
Yes, today.
Holy shit. Yeah. Like, again, that's kind of still
I mean,
speculative at this point. Um, Arab Israelis specifically. Okay. Yeah. You would know, Piteous, better, but like there's a certain hierarchy of there's a lot of ethnic tension in Israel between various groups. So drilling down on that usually requires me to go in and translate a local Hebrew paper to see what's what. But like so far, like most of the news I've been reading is from the Jerusalem Post, which is an English publishing paper. Uh yeah, like very early indications were that a number of people had to abandon vehicles on one of the major highways. So like it's a bad situation, and like I hope that this hasn't been a thing that people did, because like first of all, wildfires are stupid weapons because you can't control them.
No,
And I
they're not very useful at all, like in terms of even as like a terrorist tactic, because you know it's not like a precise means of targeting
Yeah, you've lived in Israel for
someone.
19 years and you've never heard of fires like these. Yeah, no, it's unusual. Like I've seen, like even since I've moved to Colorado, I've seen quite a few forest fires happen. Um, None that's gotten very terribly close, but like 2 or 3 towns away, yes, absolutely have happened. They can get scary real quick. But like this many fires is not. I don't see that just happening without someone doing something. Like these are huge numbers of fires that they're reporting. Uh Huge. So it's really hard for me to imagine that it's just been a ooh uh-oh, someone accidentally cows kicked over the lantern type situation. Which yes, I know is not how the Chicago fire started, but still.
I was just gonna bring that up.
Uh it's just it seems very unlikely to me that the uh situation has developed from a let's find the most recent article, has developed IDF is deploying aircraft to drop rescue teams and drop water on the fires. Leaders called the West Bank lockdown after police arrest arson suspect. Well, that'll go over well. Stop. I want to read the article. A man was arrested for allegedly attempting to ignite an open field in southern Jerusalem. Israeli police announced on Wednesday. A civilian reported the suspect, a man in his 50s from Tuba neighborhood in East Jerusalem, which would be Palestinian. A lighter, cotton, and additional incendiary materials are found in his possession. The suspect in his 50s was taken in for questioning. Earlier in the day, Hamas and other terrorist groups attempted to incite arson attacks on Israeli communities within the West Bank through online posts. That doesn't mean they've done it. Yassi Dagan, head of the Yeshua Council in the West Bank, begs the Minister of Defense for an immediate preventative lockdown of all Palestinian villages in the West Bank. The threat to burn farms isn't just rhetoric, it's a slippery slope that could result in direct harm to farms and cities near the Green Line. Every minute the state chooses not to act brings us closer to disaster. Well, okay. Uh, I hate to be the guy, but like you wouldn't be in jeopardy if you weren't illegally settling there. So it looks like the tension is ratcheting up then in the West Bank as well. So we'll probably have to watch this very closely over the next day, because even if it was not a actual action, that does not mean that there won't be violence in the West Bank either.
Something that I don't know if you've been following it, Daedalus, but have you been looking at the India-Pakistan situation?
Uh, I am torn on that one because they fight all the time. So like
They do fight all the time,
the,
yeah.
the trouble I have with getting worked up about the India Pakistan situation, and like I can see the segue you're forming already. Uh but the trouble I have with getting worked up about the India Pakistan situation is you don't know whether this is just going to be, like a barroom brawl or a border skirmish until it happens. Because like violence by both sides, particularly because of Pakistan's policy, basically Pakistan's policy towards India regarding Kashmir, is a tit for tat with a little bit extra policy. So, like, something happens. India, some Indians are involved in an attack on Muslims, so then the Pakistanis retaliate a little more, and you kind of get this situation. Like, people do this on Twitter all the time, which is where I've seen most of the talk. It's like, oh, it's the end of days. The Pakistanis and the Indians are about to start fighting, and that's not necessarily the case yet.
No, not at all. And they've had, quite a few major skirmishes in the last 30 years.
Yeah,
And none of those led to a nuclear war. But, it is one of those fault lines that you have to keep an eye on, I think.
yeah, it's which is not to say that it's not a volatile situation. I shouldn't leave that impression, but like so far, this has been a routine exchange. Um, but like there is, and I can certainly see the segue. There is a alarming connection between Indian nationalists, ultra nationalists, and online Zionist activity to the point that a number of major Zionist online accounts have been linked back to Indian ultra nationalists. Um,
Yeah, there's a it's interesting. It's interesting actually how conflicts and other like people like in for example in India and the India Pakistan conflict, they internalize the Israeli Arab one or the Israeli Palestinian conflict. So
well, I
there's
think the
one of Israel's biggest supporters is actually India. You can find a lot of friends, I guess, there. Um, and of course, on the opposite end with Pakistan, regarding the Palestinians. And then even in Northern Ireland, actually, you have the Catholic IRA that has always been very pro-Palestinian.
well,
I think that they see a lot of themselves in that struggle.
Ireland's government is also very pro. Like Ireland proper government is very pro-Palestinian as well. And like I can
Yeah, they
certainly
are.
see the connection that the IRA and the Irish generally feel with the Palestinians because they are very similar situations with some of the same players. The thing that I think connects the Indian ultranationalists and Israel specifically is Indian ultranationalists are very anti-Islamic and Islamophobic and Arab phobic. So they naturally see this particular connection between Israel and their conflict with the Palestinians, as the Palestinians are Arab. Hey, Titan, and themselves and the Pakistanis and the Indian Muslim population, who are being kind of horrifically oppressed right now in India as well. So, like, I can certainly see that. And, like, there is a certain, like, throughout the Arab world, a kind of Palestinian watchword that everyone picks up uh, to a certain extent. So, like, I can certainly see those connections. Um, but like this the energy that the two both groups, both the far right Israelis and the ultra nationalist Indians give off is very Liberian, I guess is the best word for it. I actually I was thinking about that a little bit. Like it's one of the things we don't talk about that often in history circles is the whole mess of the United States and Liberia, right?
No, that's not talked about at all.
Like I don't know if I remember high school history books talking about Liberia at all, which is interesting because
No, it's actually kind of um I believe people have referred to it as America's first overseas colony. Granted, it was the colonial project of freed. I believe they were freed slaves, right?
Sort
Or
of.
former slaves.
Uh,
Yeah.
Liberia is a much more complicated story than I think people initially give credit for. So in the 1820s, in particular, uh, there was this general feeling among certain people that freed slaves could never properly integrate into American society, uh, and that in order for them to live, to exist, and this will sound familiar, they have to have their own country. So the area that they ended up selecting and sending people over to was on the west coast of Africa, right around the Gold Coast, Liberia. And they started in like 1822, I think, off the top of my head, sending people over, and they built with basically freed, enslaved blacks, sending them over to Liberia. And they established a city and colony there, and very promptly started to oppress the indigenous population of Liberia. By the 1840s, Liberia declared itself independent, but it remained a very close ally of the United States um, for a very long time, close to 100 years, because they were still like a major factor for portions of Africa in World War II. So after that, in about the 70s, uh, uprisings occurred against that controlling group, that controlling set that like just generations on. But uprisings occur, and eventually they got ousted, and indigenous Liberians took over. And it's not been a happy country ever since. But there is like this very interesting set of parallels there, where you have this group that's kind of advancing the ethno-racist version of, well, they can't live here and they got to go live there, and they go live there and they kind of impose their will on the population, and they get pushback for it. Like Liberia is one of those discussions that we should have more often, because it is an example of what happens when you set up an ethno state and it fails.
Yeah.
Um,
And the United States, how many times did we send Marines over to Liberia, or was it only that time
It was only the
that
one
we
time for
intervened?
Liberia. We go to Haiti quite a lot, but not so much Liberia.
Yeah.
The west coast of Africa, particularly today, now currently, is kind of stuck between Russia and Islamic Islamic groups, um, and not particularly inclined to accept help from Europe or the United States. Which is bad, because the Russians are exploiting the shit out of them, and all the rebel groups are killing everyone. So, like, I can certainly see why they're not a fan of us, but the current crop is much worse. A lot of Wagner operations in West Africa, actually, exploiting and sending back gold and money for Russian oligarchs.
I'm looking at Liberia right now. I didn't realize that the U.S. didn't recognize its independence until 1862.
Yeah, that's not as big a deal in the 1800s as it would be today, right? The United States is still a backwater at the time of the Civil War, for the most part, as far as world politics is
Yeah.
concerned. Um, the fact that we got around to it eventually in that particular atmosphere. China's stepping up China's stepping up in West Africa too, but again, they have to try to muscle out the Russians, which is not useful. And China's investment programs typically take place
They've been involved in West Africa for a long time now.
yeah, but they typically do
The Chinese,
things which are stable and they can guarantee returns. So in the countries
particularly with yeah,
where conflicts
particularly
are
they've been
taking
involved
place,
with, yeah, um, they're involved particularly with infrastructure and soft power projects.
Yes, all those projects that Trump has been abandoning because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Look, if you don't loan money to the developing world, someone else will. And they might not be as nice about it. They won't be as nice about it, I promise. Avery, go sit down. He's mad because I'm talking to the computer people again. So with that, again, we're not going to do very long tonight because I know you just had a long work day and my back has been killing me today. With that,
Sorry to hear that.
return us back to the land of Israel, which has had a very unauspicious visitor recently, Brianna Wu. And this is
Are you serious? She actually went there?
she is there. Okay, you're gonna love this. Brianna Wu, per her Twitter account, is visiting Jerusalem. Well, yesterday their time, today our time.
Wow.
No. So, like, look, I'm not saying that Brianna Wu started the fires, but Jerusalem was fine yesterday, and she comes there today, and it's on fire. Coincidence? We report. You decide. I'm just saying. Anyway, so like she's obviously making friends everywhere she goes in life, which is to say she's not at all. By the way, if you haven't watched she stays there. You get to keep her now. We don't want her back. The YouTube channel Dead Domain has a 2-hour video out, basically detailing her many falsehoods and lies, some of which I didn't know about until now, and she's been a very bad person. The FEC should look into her. Anyway, more than they already have. Brianna's made herself having 2 pet projects, being the transphobic trans person and being a Arab-hating Zionist. And she's in Israel making all kinds of tweets. For example, she said that she witnessed Arab children stoning a dog to death in Israel today. Apparently, she just watched this and witnessed it. And she has this habit of citing events that didn't. She's staying in Tel Aviv, I think. Israel's not that big a country when you get down to
She's
it.
staying in Tel Aviv. I really don't believe her at all.
I don't believe anything she says usually. It's just much faster to not believe Brianna Wu. It's a default position, really. I love the Dead Domain saying one of the first things she brings up is the time that Brianna Wu used her own personal Steam account to try to drum up Gamergate attacks against her. Yeah. Well, she's like, Vance, well, Arab children, well, that was one of the points that was made. So, like, a very unusual alliance occurred on Twitter when they saw that tweet between Shal Ephraim, who is a liberal Zionist, myself, History Speaks, and a friend of ours who works in the Pentagon. All of us despise Brianna Wu, by the way. Like, her ability to unite people of different backgrounds and hatred of her is remarkable. It's her only political talent. So like everyone brought up the point, like a number of people who've been to Israel multiple times, like I've never seen people stoning dogs. Was one of the points they brought up, and like I can certainly imagine it. Like it was one of those, and everybody clapped because apparently she watched this happen and didn't bother to intervene or do anything, or get police or stop it. Like so, like it. She's in there trying to spread lies, and she has a well-documented history of racism against Arabs. So this seems to be one of those cases. The other thing that she did is she has categorically blamed the fires on terrorists, which, like I said, is not out of the question, but premature at this point. But the reason I wanted to bring Brianna Wu up is because it appears that she has been dismissed or is on leave from her position in Rebellion PAC. For Hetman's benefit, because he doesn't follow the internet as much as I do, which is probably why you're a little less insane than I am. Rebellion PAC was formed by St. Uyghur and the Young Turks back in 2020 to fight for progressive causes, quote unquote. And he appointed Brianna Wu as the executive director. She was running for Congress at the time and dropped out of the race, which she was going to lose anyway, and has been the executive director of Rebellion PAC for 5 years. And if you go and you look at Rebellion PAC's spending in elections, they are ineffective at best, or they outright back losing candidates. The largest candidate the candidate they spent the most money on in their 5-year history was Nina Turner, who lost a primary 2 cycles ago, 2 midterm cycles ago, yeah, 2022, I think. And they were curiously silent. Like, Rebellion PAC did nothing in the 2024 election for a very long time, which, if you remember, when President Sunday revealed her being transphobic in private messages publicly, it was a while ago. I think it was almost a year ago now. And
Is she aware of President Sunday's existence?
Yes, she is. She hates him.
Okay.
She loves Sunday. She loves Sunday. She loves me.
She actually knows of us?
I have made it my mission in life to antagonize her. So yes.
That's great.
We're not big enough to get a.
Someone famous knows us.
We're not big enough to get a. We're not big enough to get a no. But like, so like, for example, the thing that finally set her off, I think, was she was talking about Andor, the first season of Andor, the Star Wars show. And she starts talking about how awesome the rebels are and whatnot. And this was already after October 7th had happened. And like, Andor depicts, and Rogue One in general was like a very like dark rebel alliance, right? They're like, Cassian Andor comes out in his introductory scene and he shoots an informant because he can't escape with the guy. Like, this is a dark rebel alliance, a very seedy underbelly of the rebellion. It helped make that movie really good, I think.
Andor has been like my favorite entry, I think, in the Star Wars.
I haven't watched the new season yet, but anyway, in the first
I
season,
haven't yet either. But
they do a lot of fucking like crimes. The rebel cell that Andor's in does a lot of fucking crimes. Specifically, she's like, no, they're not terrorists. They're freedom fighters. They don't do anything illegal. They follow the rules. And so, like, I point out to her that they dressed up as Imperial officers and used that to kill people. Like, that's perfidy. That's against the laws of war. She blocked us.
Yes, it is.
No.
No.
To be fair, Daedalus has been low-key vicious. Yes, I have. A little bit. I'm not always that nice. Anyway, that's the point that she blocked me, because I pointed out to her that it was perfidy.
I mean, is that the only reason why she hates you? Because if that's
no, I made a habit. I made a very, very significant habit of telling her she's wrong. But she doesn't like. Here's the thing about Brianna Wu, is she engages only with people who are idiots. So she engages with Tim Pool, and she engages with all 3 of those bimbos on the Dial podcast, who are all really privileged trans women who hate other trans women. So like, she engages with those kinds of people. But any time that anyone who is remotely competent and willing to go up against her tries to interact with her, bam, gone, blocked. So, for example, a friend of mine that I've met on Twitter, he is he's a recently promoted 06. He works in the Pentagon, specifically on Middle Eastern policy, very much with Israel. He attempted to talk to her to correct some of the stuff she was saying that's just flat out wrong about Israel. She mocked him and then blocked him, which has developed for him a fairly significant hatred that apparently has spread around the halls of the office there. So like it's very easy to get under her skin. And I've made a habit of doing it. So yes, she is aware. She just probably wouldn't admit it, because I'm very vicious. Like, for example, a few weeks ago, actually it was February-ish, I think, I keep her stupidest tweets so I can use them later in videos if I get the opportunity. She made a tweet where she said, "I'm so glad that my dad was a naval officer. It means that my national security takes are not brain dead like some other people's." Like she thought that her dad being a naval officer means she understands national security policy. Did you die? Did that make you die?
That did not make me die. Sorry, I'm sending a message to someone in Ukraine.
But yeah, national, like,
It
she
didn't
thinks
kill me.
national security policy, or like you know who Brianna Wu is? You remember when we would be in high school and
He just sounds like an idiot
you remember when we would be
to
in high
me.
school and like you would hear the stories from the colonel in our JROTC about the wives of officers who insist that you salute the car, the rank insignia on the car.
I don't
She's
remember Colonel giving us a
it might
story
have
about that.
it might have, like, I don't know, it might have been me because I spent so much more time with him. Jesus Christ. Um because when you're there for drill team and everything else after school, like, we had to keep Colonel occupied so we didn't interfere in things. Anyway, and it is an actual phenomenon. I know you haven't spent that much time on military bases, but it is actually a phenomenon, especially on Air Force bases, where officers will put a sticker of the rank insignia on the car, and if you are driving down the street, or you're walking down the street and you don't salute the car, and particularly a snippy wife gets at you, you can get yourself in some trouble there.
So that happened before.
Oh, it's happened.
But
When
there's
I was
no actual rule to that.
No, it's definitely not a standard. Like, there's no regulation that says that at all. But at the same time, shit rolls downhill. So you'd best behave if that's the case. But that's kind of like the thing.
I'm actually. You bringing up Colonel makes me very sad.
It's been a couple of years.
I miss the guy. Yeah.
Were you included in the thing when he passed away?
No.
Oh, he passed
I
away.
only found out from you after the fact.
Yeah, he passed away about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We had in high school, my JROTC unit, we had we had 3 instructors. It was a pretty big school. We had 3 instructors, 2 enlisted, retired Air Force who took on a job as a teacher, and an officer. The colonel was up there. He was a very jovial person. He didn't do much teaching at this point in his life because, like, my senior year he retired. Not dissimilar. No, yes, it was my senior year. So, like,
No, it wasn't our senior year. It was our junior year.
Okay,
Remember, he wasn't there for our senior
oh
year.
yeah, it was just freaking us, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a bad year.
Yeah.
Because my senior year was kind of a shit show. And that was the year I was a commander. Anyway. So, like, his principal thing when he teaches was to put on movies. So, like, I swear to God, we went through every single aerospace movie you can think of. Or
Did we ever watch Did we ever watch the Final Countdown?
No, but he did show the core in class.
Yeah. I remember he showed the core, which was
the core is my
ridiculous. He showed the Patriot once.
Yeah.
And he got reprimanded for that a little bit.
I didn't tell. But I still hate the Patriot. But the core is the most ridiculous
No,
bad
it's a terrible movie.
The core is the most ridiculous bad movie you'll ever see. It's one of my favorite bad movies, by the way. Like, it's horrible. It knows it's bad. It goes through the motions like it's bad. Anyway, he showed the core. He showed The Right Stuff, which is a long movie about early NASA astronauts. What else did we do? Armageddon. We did Armageddon.
What? I'm surprised he never did. I'm surprised, like, he never showed the movie with Owen Wilson, Behind Enemy Lines. Very based off of that one U.S. airman that was shot down over Bosnia.
Yeah. There are a lot of
very loosely based. But that would have been perfect for that time and that class.
Yeah, there were a lot of older aerospace, like 50s, 60s Korea and Vietnam movies he didn't show either. That like Bridges over Toko Ray, stuff like that that I think would have been good to show. Uh, but he also had another really interesting habit, and I think it was uh primarily done to me, where every once in a while when I got a little bit snippy, because I so like, and Hetman will back me up. My particular style is very similar to Colonel Jack O'Neill from Stargate SG-1. Borderline insubordinate. But very good at what I
Yeah, I
do.
would say you were.
Very good at what I do. So like I kept getting promoted, but I'm still borderline insubordinate. Once or twice, Colonel would sneak up behind me and put me in a chokehold, just to remind me that I'm not invincible. So high school, good times. Uh,
All right, we're gonna catch some film, then we're gonna go outside.
yeah, we had another instructor who left a couple of years, like 2 years in, went to a different school, far, far away.
I liked him. He was. I
Colonel
mean, I know
or
he screwed Sergeant Manley.
okay, yes, I did like Sergeant Manley too. Like, and I had a couple times I saw him like at SLS or when we went to Scott Air Force Base and stuff like that. Um, Sergeant Manley had a very particular way of doing things, but what he liked to take everyone outside to play dodgeball, which was a no-no in school in the aughts. So we invented a cross between kickball and dodgeball that allowed us to play dodgeball without playing dodgeball. We did
What
that every
happened to
Friday.
What happened to Sergeant Manley? And like after he left, what did he do after that?
He went to a school in Missouri. He founded
Really?
he founded a JROTC unit in Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was another instructor
I don't know
at a
what
different school.
has happened. Like I haven't talked to any of them. Obviously, I wouldn't talk to Steen because he and I didn't get along. But I haven't
That's what I was just gonna say.
I haven't talked to the other instructor Schlifka in a couple of years. I should actually just look him up. But like because you know the
Do you know
school.
anything about the ROTC program as of now?
The
And
last
the
thing I
or
heard is it got cut at all four schools.
it got cut.
Yeah,
They were gonna cut it in, I think, what year
there
was it?
was
Was it
so there was
2013?
two attempts that were made to cut it since we graduated. One, we did the letter writing campaign as graduates and as current students, and that stopped it. Boom. But I think it got cut the second time. Like I don't think it survived COVID.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's terrible though. I mean, the school that I'm working at now has a thriving
Yeah, and like
naval
I can certainly see like just to
bureaucracy.
put it out for the audience. Like obviously, here's the thing. At least my feelings about the program. Like people have a lot of mixed feelings about the JRTC programs in high school, but I tend to like them overall. For a lot of
Oh,
reasons.
I love them. I mean,
Like the recruitment rate is much higher, yes, than this national average for non-schools, but by the same token, it's still pretty low. It's 1 in 3 students. It's still pretty low. So like you don't really get that same kind of militarization, and it doesn't usually take up most of your day unless you're at one of the academy schools, in which case it is the day. Um, but like it's a very quiet thing, and it gave a lot of kids in high school a place to be where they were accepted, where they would not have been otherwise accepted anywhere else in the school. um and I think that counts for you and me included.
100%. It also got a lot of kids who were, kind of going down wrong paths. Like I
Yeah,
know
it kept
a
some
few
people
of the
it,
people we went to school with
it kept
who
some people out of
graduated.
trouble.
It really did. And even with myself, like it was a motivation for me, not to. Although like my sophomore year was a bit difficult, but like after that, I really wanted to stay on, to not get in fights or in any disciplinary act.
Yeah, your sophomore year
You
was
know,
difficult for us both, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. It was
Anyway,
up here.
and like, and like for what the school has to pay for, because you basically pay half of the program as a district, and the other half comes from the government. For what the school has to pay for it, they probably got like a significant amount in terms of graduation and increased graduation rates and testing rates, because they did push that kind of stuff. Like, you need to get ready for the standardized tests, blah 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 blah. All of that became very important and something that they did on a regular basis. Um, so yeah, I have a lot of really good things to say about that program in particular. I don't have anything bad to say about ROTC in college either, but that's a different beast entirely. That is definitely a direct pipeline because they're training officers.
That's what I was just going to say. Is the are the ROTC programs in college um actual military?
It's This answer is a answer in three parts. Yes, but no, but yes. So what happens and you do ROTC in college? Basically, you have basically a 2-year no commitment happy time if you want to go. You go, you take the first 2 years, and it's a lot of very basic introduction to military customs and ceremonies, introduction to basic tactics, a lot of basic. I don't want to use the term basic training this way because it will offend any veterans that are listening, but there's a lot of skill overlap between what you are taught as basic field work in ROTC and stuff you would learn in basic training. It has none of the rah-rah, make your bed nonsense that you find in basic training, but it does have skill overlaps. The third year, you either contract and commit to the Army and they start paying you and start paying your schooling, or you quit the program. Now you get into a situation like, say, mine, where I didn't really have a question in my mind and was, working on getting the scholarship in my senior year of high school, right? Which is how we found out I was sick, because I had to do the medical review.
Yeah.
You get a situation like mine where basically, had that medical situation not arisen, I would have immediately contracted, immediately started receiving the scholarship. And in the state of Illinois, the schools get a number of students they can waive tuition for, which I received. So like,
did you start exhibiting the symptoms of your condition in senior year, or did they find out about it then through testing?
Was the medical tests for the Department of Defense Review Board. So
okay, interesting.
I had, so like, it was a private doctor that does contract work for the government. They did a urinalysis, they found a thing, they said, you got to go get this checked out, and off we went to University of Chicago. But like, all of that, like, that is kind of like that situation. So like, other people I know contracted immediately and went through. So like, like, you are doing the basics. It's basically like a 4-year long, not invasive, not intensive preparation to become an officer. You get done with that 4 years, you're pinned as a second lieutenant, and then you go off to another year of school for your branch specifically, whether it's infantry, armor, artillery, supply, signal, etc. However, again, because we were in Chicago, a couple different things happened. Chicago Public Schools has a much different relationship with most of their junior ROTC programs than we did at our school. They have academies where most of the staff is retired military. They're teaching all of the subjects, and you have usually been qualified to teach all the subjects. And the entire day, like, you go, your uniform day is the entire day. Like, basically, the entire school functions around the JROTC program. You remember in our senior year how we had that outside officer come to do an inspection and an audit of all of our crap, and I had to work like 3
I
months
remember
to get
that guy very, very well.
Yeah, and I had to do like 3 months of work to get ready for that, me and the other commanders. The Army had us do those inspections as senior ROTC cadets at those schools. So like, we grab like 4 or 5 guys and we go run through the inspection for a day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a long day. Mostly I did uniform inspections that day. Anyway, uh,
That's one thing, that I noticed. I'm, now that I hear it, I'm really, really, I didn't know her program, but like, a lot of the, you know, like for CPS, and even the school that I'm with now, I think a lot of schools that have, you know, minority populations, people that, don't have a lot of other options, after, for basically, paying for college, you know, ROTC is a really great thing for them. And most of it's no coincidence. So at the school I work, I have I work in a predominantly Latino school, but yeah, most of the cadets there, the naval cadets, are from the Hispanic community, and we do have a few in that program, a few Ukrainian kids as well, um, a few that are looking at the military as an option, uh,
yeah,
for eventual citizenship.
it's
So
that's not really risky gambit right now. Uh, it's a tricky it's a tricky thing. Um, a lot of people have a lot of very sour feelings about that, and like that's fair. Um, but like I think overall, like two things I think really helped. Um, one of the things that we did at our high school was we had like outside of just like ROTC scholarships, like if you wanted to go to school, like I know a couple people got help finding other scholarships through the program as well. Like the instructors worked with you to find scholarships. The um the, the other again, the big thing that I think, particularly because I saw, especially in my last 2 years in high school, because I was doing staff work and then as one of the high ranking commanders, and I saw the entirety of the program because I was doing the day-to-day operational running. uh just how many kids kind of depended on it as to anchor their high school experience, because a lot of high school is very detached for people. Like, you go to grade school or junior high less so, but grade school you have a lot of the same people throughout the day. You get very comfortable, and like you go in the high school and everyone's shuffling around and it's kind of chaotic. So like having that kind of touchstone I think helps a lot of students. So yeah, like I said, I have very little bad to say about that program.
yeah, same. Sorry, I spaced out a bit. Looking at some archival documents that were just sent to me.
Yeah, we're about coming at about an hour, and I don't want to keep you if you have to work tomorrow. As for the rest of it, I am tentatively working on the laser pig thing because, yikes. If you didn't watch Laser Pig's newest video, he decided to stop doing things about tanks and ships and decided to stick his toe into politics. And like, I don't dislike Laser Pig. I find his videos entertaining. Um, but he said some things that require some discussion. And I had originally thought we were going to do it in a stream and react to it. But hey, the video is 2 hours long, and I started writing copious amounts of notes about halfway in. Uh, so like I'm probably going to put it together in a video that people can watch. I am also working on the Clausewitz video still, um, just slowly because I'm lazy. Uh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, uh, we should discuss the high school experience sometime,
Oh, the entirety of high
because it's
school.
changed a lot
Uh,
in.
I have gotten that impression. Obviously, my cousin works in middle school, but I've gotten the impression that school in general is a little bit less, what's the word? Bitchy.
There's a reason why there's a shortage of teachers.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Okay. let's do this real quick
Yeah.
because I'm getting subtle pressure that I should talk about it a little bit. So, my cousin that I live with, she is bisexual, and she runs the school's Gay Straight Alliance. A student emails her asking if it would be okay for them to come to the Gay Straight Alliance. She says yes, and that the kid had recently come out. So she's trying to be supportive and says, I like your icon, because they put an icon in their email that says, yes, I'm bisexual, blah, blah, blah. So reviews come up, and they have a system where you get reviewed and then you can rebut your review. And during the rebuttal, they brought up that incident in the email and said it was inappropriate, that a parent complained, and that she was turning the kid gay, apparently. So apparently this principal has a habit of being discriminatory to people.
That's not surprising at all.
So, like, I'm starting to very seriously understand why schools can't keep teachers. So, yeah, we should probably talk about that, schools and teacher shortages, at a later date. I want to thank everybody.
Let's plan that, actually. I got a lot of insight into it now.
Yeah,
So,
we will. I will get on that. My back is about to break. So,
all
thank
right.
you, everybody, and hope you all have a good night.